What's up, Dragon Brood? So today we're finishing our three-part series in prepping for this MTG Arena Open with Gruul versus the field, I guess is what I should have called it from the get-go. So if you go back, we did a video versus Yorion decks, we did a video versus Lurrus decks, and now we're going to do this one covering mono red and other aggro decks, because that seems to be in the next largest portion of the field. So we're going to play against a few different things and see how that works. Feel free to check out my other two videos if you want to get prepped and if you're thinking about playing Gruul in the Arena Open, or if nothing else, just give you an idea of what the different decks look like and ways to attack each of them. But for now, let's talk about the deck. So for any of you that have already watched the other two videos in this series, you're going to see that the deck's very much the same. I haven't changed anything. My idea was to do all the videos at once, so I could go through, film them all, and then do a voiceover of them as we kind of critique the strategy and the best ways that work and some things that maybe didn't work, and we can talk about why, and this made it the easiest way to go about it. But anyway, taking a look at this list, we've got one Umori, which, you know, that's all you really need because he's hanging out on the sideboard. We're playing 4 Arboreal Grazer, 4 Raptor, and again, these are the keys to the deck. And honestly, these also are good against the random aggro matchups because they let you take some extra blocks on, maybe make opponents spin 2 cards to get rid of 1, you know, that sort of thing that buy you time to get to the later stages. But a couple of Voracious Hydra, we wanted a little bit more removal to balance this deck out. It's also not a bad finisher against slower decks. Bonecrusher Giants, we're going to see it more today probably as a removal card more than a creature. Spellbreaker. We're playing Gruul, and it's my favorite Gruul card. It's got to be in there. 4 Gem Razor, 4 Migratory Greathorn, 4 Questing Beasts, 4 Ceratops. Not too creative, but they get the job done. And then 2 God Eternal Ronus. And this is mostly a finisher. However, it does give you some protection against board sweepers and whatnot because it gets shuffled back in and keeps you from getting those dead draws. Then we got 6 Mountain, 2 Castle Garabrig, 8 Forest, 4 Stomping Ground, 3 Temple, and 1 Bonders Enclave. So yes, like I said, same as we played the last 2 videos, but just want to go over it one more time in case somebody's just watching this one. But if you want some good prep, I definitely recommend checking out those other 2 videos. But for now, let's get into the games. Alright, at this stage when we're rolling into this deck, we didn't know what we were up against, but this hand was pretty solid against most things. Downside is I would have rathered one of those Raptors be something a little heavier. I think had I known I was just playing against an aggro deck, mono red, something like that, I probably would have kept the first hand. But we wanted something with a little more beef to get us through, and this actually was an okay draw. Yeah, leaving that land on top, absolutely what we want to do there. I mean, this is a pretty good start here, really. We're going to go ahead and play the Raptor. And the next turn set up pretty good because we get the option of removing something or just playing a big 4/5 that red decks don't like dealing with. The biggest thing was, had the opponent attacked first before playing their Steamkin, we actually wouldn't have been able to block because we wouldn't want to be susceptible to a shock or something like that. Yeah, this was me getting a little cheeky because I started to play something and I was like, you know what? What if I just attack? What's the opponent really going to do here? They're not going to block. And I don't want to block their stuff because this Raptor is too important to our long-term game plan right now. And the main reason the Grazer is good here is that if they decide to attack, I block, maybe they'll spend a shock on it instead of saving it to help take down another creature. However, the opponent looked like they were stuck on mana, so that ended up being pretty good. Now, I will say, there's an argument to be made here that had I not attacked, we could have saved ourselves a point of damage, which isn't a big deal in the grand scheme of things, but it could be later on. And getting those 2 damage in against the red deck wasn't going to make or break us, really. So yeah, this was a little bit of a tough decision. But here, it was a matter of giving ourselves 2 different creatures we could block with, and being able to spread out and keep the opponent back a little bit, while also solidifying our mana base. Because still, if something were to happen, whether they were to, I don't know, fire prophecy or who knows what, skewer the critics, you know, of different things to our actual Raptor, we could have been in a lot of trouble. Yeah, this didn't bother us so much. Like, we take 4 damage. We're winning the race here. I mean, you know, I guess we could say that had we played Umori, we'd be able to do the same thing with our Hydra that we can now. So there's really no gain or loss there. And everything's pretty much just going to trade with the Giant at this point. Well, I say everything. I guess the Raptor technically wouldn't. And I will say, it's almost worth attacking here to keep the possibility of an Embercleave from coming. But if the opponent has an Embercleave, they're not going to block anyway. So that's almost one way to kind of prepare yourself. You can attack. If they don't block there, Embercleave's coming. So there's nothing to gain, really. So I decided to leave the creature back. This allows me to effectively block the way I want to across the board. Cost the opponent all but maybe 1 creature. And then we're off to the races. And I block this way because it forces the opponent to make a decision. Do they want to save their Steamkin or do they want to save the Giant? But either way, they're going to be down to 1 creature, which we don't mind because our mana reducers aren't getting killed, which means we'd be able to possibly kill it with the Hydra if we wanted to. And this was just a matter of, like, I could outright kill the creature with the Hydra, but I also can just kill the Embercleave here. And we're at 7 life, so I don't have too much fear of losing. But I'm leaving the Spellbreaker back anyway, so we should be mostly fine. Yeah, and here I was just like, okay, if I attack for 8 and they don't kill us next turn, I guess we win, but like, something might happen here. Like, it was really a tough spot. Like, could have been like a haste creature and an Embercleave or some such. Like, maybe. Yeah, this one was just trying to go, okay, cool. I'm going to put blockers in front of both of them. If you have a shock and you want to kill both my creatures, great. Let's do it. I actually wasn't even assuming they would want to spend the mana to Embercleave there, because I was just like, okay, but that doesn't seem like it does a whole lot, because you still lose your creature. So now they have nothing, and I happen to have drawn the Questing Beast, and that just ends the game there. Okay, so we're rolling into another aggro matchup here. Again, I don't know that going in, so I just mulligan the hand because I can't do anything with that. This one's actually pretty good. I would like to have had an additional land, obviously, but even if not, like, this isn't bad against most decks. If we draw a land, though, this hand is super gas. Also, I love those flag backs. Let me know in the comments, how many of you managed to get those when they were on sale in the store? And then how many of you looked for your nation's flag that wasn't there? Because I'm just curious, like straw poll sort of thing, because I know they didn't have the Canadian and the Australian ones, which very much surprised me. Yeah, so this is kind of as we expect. Not a big deal. We can keep the Grazer back to block the Hawk. We have a Gem Razor here. Okay, part of me was kind of like, man, I hope they play a All That Glitters here, because, you know, that's the one you want to get rid of. But here, I'm just willing to block. If they want to spend something to pump their Hawk to get through our wall, that's fine. I'd rather them use it there than somewhere else. The downside here, though, I have to say, is that it is a little difficult because we can't deal enough to outpace their life gain at this point, so we do have to make a play here. Also, I just realized it's awkward that the auto tapper left the colorless land open with not enough to activate it. Yeah, and here I'm just going to go ahead and only attack with the Raptor, and I'm going to leave the Gem Razor back. Mostly because it can still block the Hawk almost no matter what they do with it. And then sets up our next couple of turns really nicely. And the opponent took a long time here, so I thought they were setting up something big, but then they just conceded. I included this matchup here. I don't really even know how to classify it. I thought it was a Winota deck when I was playing against it. So, I mean, I included it because that's how I was playing, as though that's what the opponent had. I still don't know if it was. This game was fairly quick, and I have no idea where it was going. But I decided to keep this hand because, again, we can play Raptor into Umori or kill an enchantment if we have to. So I was kind of keeping my options open here. So yeah, Raptor hits just as expected. I didn't think the opponent had an option when they played that land, because I was like, okay, maybe this is a weirdly controlled deck, Jeskai of some kind that doesn't play Yorion. But then when I saw Charming Prince, I'm like, okay, this has to be a Winota deck of some kind, right? So now it's just get biggest creatures out, try to get damage in, do what we can before the opponent can set up for a Winota attack. Right now, they don't even have anything that they can actually attack with to trigger Winota, so that's fine. It's kind of the one downside. Like, the Charming Prince helps you find your Winota parts, but the Charming Prince itself is kind of worthless once Winota hits the table. So we have a bunch of mana here. Technically, we have 6 for playing a creature. The downside is we could play the Hydra, but the Hydra would only actually be a 4 power. Actually, no, I guess that would have been fine. 4 power, 5 toughness. Yeah, I guess I could have done that. That was a misplay, actually, because we could have just taken their creature. Well, not necessarily, because I guess it was I didn't totally know what they would have had. So this could have been a board sweeper, potentially. Though, had we just killed the Hydra, used the Hydra to kill the Charming Prince, this situation wouldn't have happened, so that's a little unfortunate. And then we go ahead and fight. Oh no, we just made it grow that time. I didn't actually fight. And that was a little bit of a mistake, because these soldiers are non-humans, and if I was really believing this was a Winota deck, I should have just killed the human token so they would have no Winota triggers. Now here, I could attack into the opponent, put them pretty low, attack into Teferi, maybe get rid of it. The problem is, if we attack the opponent and they don't block, they go to 6. If they +1 Teferi, then we really can't attempt to end the game next turn. It's a little bit of an unfortunate situation. So here we're just going to play this onto the Hydra. So that makes it a 9 power Hydra. And now this becomes a bit more threatening. And we really put the opponent on notice to deal with it. And with just the 9/9, I'm willing to take a chance. If they plus Teferi and then they just wipe the board to do whatever they're going to do, so be it. We actually have enough mana that we can play the Ceratops anyway, so the Ceratops can just end the game with the opponent at 5 or less. So the play here would be, if they do nothing and decide they want to do something on our turn, then we go ahead and let them do it. The Hydra dies or gets bounced, or however they're going to end up dealing with it. Then we play something like Umori behind it, and then follow up playing very likely just the Ceratops. Yeah, and here I'm just going to go ahead and get the full 6 mana. Play the Ceratops for 4. And then we'll spend mana to give it haste and trample. And I was like, oh, a Brazen Borrower. I'm like, maybe this isn't a Winota deck. Like, it sort of looks like it. But, I mean, Brazen Borrower could still be in those lists, being honest. Don't really know. Now, I don't like this situation as much, because now if they sweep the board, we really are down to a bunch of non-haste creatures, and it's not nearly as exciting. Yep, they just plus Teferi. And they gave us a good game, so I was like, okay, awesome, we got there. So there's no telling. That game could have went a bunch of different ways from that point, really. I'm still not sure if that last one was supposed to be an aggro deck or not that happened to play Teferi. I just have no clue how that ended up. Like, it played out so strangely, I can't even begin. Yeah, and this was tough. We had to take a couple mulligans, because we know we're up against Obosh. If we don't have something reasonable we can play on turn 2, and especially on turn 3, there's just no way we're going to win this match. Yeah, so here it's just minimize the damage we're taking as best we can. Go ahead and get the land into play. That's awesome. And this is good because they're very likely not going to waste the mana to kill our Grazer. At first I wasn't going to block, but then when they play 2, Fervent Champs there, it makes sense to block now because I'm not going to lose our 0-3. But before, I actually wouldn't have blocked just to keep from losing the creature. Yeah, and here we're going to get a 3-4 because it holds up to everything the opponent has. Unless, of course, they want to shoot down our creature and then first strike it. Because they have 2 Fervent Champs, but that's okay. We can take 4 at least once more without worrying about it too much. And then if they just happen to skewer the critics or something, alright, we'll eat it. There's a point where sometimes you have to just not worry about it. And if they just don't have it, or if they do have it, they have it. Alright, so we are at 11. That's not a lot of life against the red decks, as many of you know. But it's enough that we can stabilize a little bit. We can currently empty our hand next turn. We can end up with a 4-5 and a 2-3 on the table. So overall, it feels pretty good. I mean, we still have to navigate Obosh when Obosh shows up, but until then, this is okay. Alright, and at this stage, we're T-1 turn to Obosh, and that card also represents another 2 damage I can't block. Yeah, this hurt. We're just like, ugh. And truthfully, I think I made a mistake leaving the other Great Horn on top. I feel like I should have just tried to dig for something else. Whether it was Ronus or something. But, I mean, even the Hydra at this point would have let me just outright kill Obosh. So that would have been a better choice. Because we get a Hydra for 6, 7, 8 mana, we could have made it a 6 power. So even with the 2 damage from the Rager, Raptor, and then I guess the damage. Well, not true. Obosh would have still doubled the damage and killed the Hydra. But that's fine. I think Obosh being off the table would have still been the better issue. Yeah, unfortunately, we had to block with that. Didn't want to put everything else at risk. But it was a little bit unfortunate because I knew what was on top, so that was a bit of a sad feeling. Because I feel like if at this stage, if we would have got Obosh off the table, the opponent wouldn't have had any shot at winning here. Yeah, that champion just made it to where we were going to be in trouble, unfortunately. We would have lost our whole board blocking, and they were all first striking. Now this one was interesting because when I saw opponent was playing Kaheera, I was like, okay, is this some type of elementals deck? You know, is it the Fires of Invention, whatever? So I was like, this will make good content. Let's use this one. And this hand's actually pretty great for us. Being able to make sure we get all our mana down. We could open up with a Spellbreaker if we want to. Then they played the Raptor, and I was like, wait a minute. Is this just a different Gruul deck? And then that kind of got me thinking that this is going to be an interesting game. Yeah, I was really having a hard time deciding if I wanted a second red. And the reason I went with that is because there's a possibility that I might want to play the Raptor and use the Stomp on the same turn. I couldn't really think of a lot of scenarios where that was the case, but thought it might be, and I didn't want to be stuck without. Especially since I knew we were going to hit some type of situation where we're eventually going to be able to trigger the Garenbrig if we wanted to. Yeah, I wanted to make sure I tap these individually so we'd be able to play both Umori and play the Raptor here. And this starts to open the door a little bit, as we've got now 2 mana ahead of the opponent. We've got mana reduction, so we can play a giant Hydra to kill whatever they play. Now, admittedly, I was not thinking they were going to play the Quartzwood Crasher, so that definitely changed things. Fortunately, we can get a whole bunch of mana out of this Garenbrig, plus our mana reducers to be able to take down that thing. So we can do exactly 6 to it, which sadly does kill our Hydra because we do take the 2 damage from our own Raptor, but that's okay. Though I have to admit, I did for a second consider just what are the consequences of us just making that a big 12 power creature. Like, the opponent wouldn't be able to get the free tokens from the Quartzwood Crasher. I couldn't think of anything in those decks they would play unless they had maybe, like, I don't even know what they would have played. Honestly, double Collision Colossus potentially, which I guess that could have went south if they had that, but it's like the only thing I could think of. So, But this also allowed us to attack now, put the opponent down to 7, which effectively is 5 because we have 2 damage in hand. So we only have to sneak 1 creature through, and that's pretty much it. Yeah, this was the kicker here, being able to play that for 1 and then get in there with a bunch of 3 power things means that any 2 of these getting through, we're going to deal with the last 2. So the game is effectively over there. Though had we attacked and it just been a Raptor or whatever, it still would have been fine. You know, we'd have found a way to get at least 5 damage through. Well, I guess not. It's possible we could have got 4 through. No, it would have been 5 no matter what. So we were still okay, I guess. Yep, and that ended it. And that concludes our 3-part series. But I will say, this was actually an interesting experiment. I know this video today is a bit shorter than the other ones we do, but a lot of the matches were either just repetitive or they were super short, where I got a couple of big creatures, then the red deck scooped, or, you know, I went Raptor into Umori into Giant Hydra, then the game was just over. So that didn't leave a lot to really be critiqued, so unfortunately I didn't include those. I will say this though. The mono red matchups are still difficult. You have to deal with a couple of their early threats or get a bunch of 4/4s, 5/5s on the table as fast as possible and negate any benefit they're going to get from playing their Obosh. Now, if you aren't able to do that, then try to just play the Battle of Attrition up until that point, and then either try to land a giant Hydra or try to just punch through with a big activation from the Ronus. Like, those are really your choices in those matchups, because we're not playing a ton of removal. We really have 6 removal cards, but we do have a bunch of tramplers, and unless they get extra burn in hand or land an Obosh on time, they're not going to have a whole lot of actual damage coming at your creatures that are bigger. Some of those decks are also still playing the Heraldic Banner, which you can kill that with Gem Razor. So just keep that in mind. That can actually keep a lot of damage off of you. But this was a fun experiment. It was good practice. So if you're thinking about playing Gruul, we now have 3 videos you can review. Some different lines of play. You get to see some mistakes I made. You get to see some ways that you can kind of think outside the box to get through some of these. So I hope this was fun for everybody, honestly. If you like this type of stuff, let me know down in the comments. If you hate this type of stuff, let me know. Some of you may not like the voiceover or the music or whatever. Yeah, let me know. I want to make these videos better for everybody, so you're getting some different type of content that kind of approaches stuff a little bit different other than just watching me play games all the time. But yeah, again, remember to like this video, and if you haven't subscribed yet, I want to ask you so badly, why have you not? Why have you not subscribed to the channel? Because honestly, we're on a mission. We're trying to get to 1,000 subs by the end of summer, and we are making such good pace right now. Everybody's been so helpful. I want to thank everybody for doing that. But remember to smash the subscribe button, hit that notification bell, and then you'll know every time I put a video up, which right now is almost every day. So you're getting tons of new content. But that is all I have for you today. We will see you next time.